So that puts me up there, and that works good for my recording and everything else. Now where to put the mouse so it's out of the way. My table's getting really full here today. um, okay, so there we go. I will just say about that diversity thing. For me, when I'm thinking about diversity and thinking of how to celebrate it, one thing that pops up really big to me is food, because I love food from a lot of different cultures. And I've met people over the years who are from India, and they taught me how to make the flatbread that they make and eat it with my fingers, with use it with fingers to eat the Indian food, and I love Mexican food and stuff like that. So I'll probably be thinking of food things to paint as far as where I'm celebrating diversity around us in our area here. So anyhow, that was just my plug for that. And also, as for next um, 2 weeks from now, the second part two of our abstracted April class, that is most likely going to be some type of a fruit bowl still life that I'm going to show you how to do an abstracted version of that. And now getting right into today, I guess I'll go ahead and put this right down here to my tabletop so you can see.
Can I just ask you, what size is that?
What size is
your paper?
This is, I took one of our regular
6x9.
Yeah, this paper, that we use all the time, and it's 9 by 12.
9 by 12.
Fold it in half. I folded it in half and used my ruler to break it into two pieces. So I've actually got 4 pieces of paper right there today, because we're going to do some abstracted landscapes. And I have learned over the last 6 weeks or a couple of months so that I've been playing around with this idea myself. I've learned that you're not probably going to get of it on the first try. So I would encourage you to have a couple of pieces of paper today. Maybe even as I've got here, I've got 4 pieces of paper because I took 2 pieces of 9 by 12 and broke it in half. So 2 are not taped down to anything. 2 are because when you get them all wet, the papers kind of curl up as they dry, and they dry like this and they don't lay flat. And I like mine. I just like the neat appearance of them when they're dried and they lay flat. And I find the easy way to do that is to tape them on a board like this and then let them dry completely before I take that tape off there, and they will lay completely flat, which is my preference. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I got to get my palette cam light on and move this over here. And let's see, is that situated right? Mostly. I bumped my camera, the one that's right above here, and now all of my little markings on the table and everything that I do, it doesn't have them. It's not as perfectly aligned as it was, but it's good enough. And why do we not have enough light on there? Let me see what I got to do with my light to make that. I can get my arm to be out of the way. It's not got as much light as it did have. Maybe I bumped this light too. Well, these are really dark up here in the palette. Look at the difference in that. That's my hand with the daylight. Oh, maybe this light will help. Oh, better. Not great still, but better. Okay, so the palette cam's set. I've got a reference picture right up there that actually is one that my niece took in Big Bend National Park in Texas. And it was a perfect idea for what we're working on. And I've got a whole bunch of things to show you what I'm talking about. This is my version, and let me just zoom in so we can see it really good. This is my version of that landscape picture, but I also played around with it a bunch of times and made all of these. You see this one's not laying flat. This one's a little flatter. This one is just a made up landscape. And I painted this with my credit card, a little piece of broken credit card. I think I may have told you last time. This is what we're going to paint with. It's an expired credit card that I just cut into a bunch of pieces in different shapes. And I've got some short sides and some long sides and some pointy parts and some rounded corners. So I'm going to paint with all those little bits. And I wasn't looking at my screen. Hopefully, yeah, you did just see all that. So I painted this with that, and then I used some of these credit card things to scrape some rocks in here, and I used the pointy sides to scrape some lines in here that will, well, I'll show you what that does as we get going, but that's one thing you can do. Here's another one. This is just a very random landscape, and I did this one using what I call a triad of colors. This one, the same thing. It's not laying flat, but I used 3 colors, and we'll talk about that as we get into the painting. So this is only 3 colors, and I put it on here with my credit card and sprayed it with the spray bottle, and it made a really cool landscape. On this one, once I did all that, then I went back in there with the pen and my paintbrush and some dark color, and this might actually even be India ink. Yeah, I think this one is the one I put India ink on there and made some little tiny tree shapes. So this one I scraped rocks, or looking at this another way, this could actually be kind of a ramshackle grouping of some rooftops. That could be that. When it's abstract, there's not a lot of definition, and it can be just about anything, and you leave it more up to the viewer's eye to determine what it is they're seeing. But those are just some ideas of and direction of where we're going. And you can get, let's see, where is I don't know where, oh, here it is. The picture that I had sent to Jackie for the reference, I'm gonna zoom back out here. Oops, wrong button. There we go. This is the Royal Gorge, and I painted this in the abstract kind of way and then put some more detail in here. So it's an abstracted landscape. This is more of an abstract landscape. This is abstracted because of the painting technique that I used. This would be the same sort of thing. I painted all this stuff on here with my credit card and then put spray bottle, and then I took my paintbrush and kind of started moving some of that paint around and made these palm frond tops on there. So I got some much more loose and colorful, kind of abstracted type of palm trees going on there. And you can add more detail. You can, this one I might have to really zoom out. It's kind of big. This one, I added all these trees afterwards over the top, but I just put all this stuff on here with my credit card, except the white part. And then I put the sprayed water on it and tilted the paper around like this. And all the colors kind of run together and that makes the painting. Then this is some white that I put over the top of it to make that waterfall. But these are just some ideas of what you can do with this. Here's another one that I painted these abstract mountain things, and then I put this little sky tram in there. Excuse me. Talking too much and too fast. So let me move all these things out of the way. I do have one more piece to show you. This is something else I did using that same technique. I painted all this water on here with my credit card and the spray bottle. And I painted these palm trees. The bases for them look like this. And then I took my paintbrush and went back in there and put in some details and adjusted what I had. So I feel like I have a much prettier, looser, just a prettier end result of palm trees. Now I could have left it like this. This isn't bad. But I want to show you one other thing which I'm going to be kind of bold here and do this. I painted these palm trees. Hold on, let me get a drink of water. Sorry about that. Too much talking. I painted this whole picture there. See? Okay. I painted that whole picture, just painting it without really the credit card version. And then I went back and I added, I mean, I painted the palm trees on there, and I don't think they're as pretty. They're too fussy and overworked. But compare that to this. Okay, you can see obviously this is a whole lot more loose and pretty than this. But even the one I went and put a bunch of detail in with my paintbrush afterwards, this is still prettier than this, at least to me. I think that this has just a better overall appearance than me trying to paint every little bit of this in this big group of trees with my paintbrush and just, painting like I normally do with a lot of details. I feel like I have a lot of details in here, but I still have a prettier overall appearance. So that's what I want to show you how to do today, is to get looser stuff going on. And if you have any interest in seeing this, this is a painting I did for the Western Art Guild. I did a demo for them and made a recording of that, and I'm just about to upload that to my YouTube channel. So you can find that over there on my YouTube channel as well. And if you want more information about that, go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter. There's a Get in Touch page, and there's a tab on there, an easy click, and I'll send you stuff about that. Or if you know how to find me on YouTube, just go there and subscribe, and you will automatically get notified from YouTube whenever I put up a new video. And one really quick aside from that, I'll have to look at you while I'm telling you this. I have 49 subscribers right now. So if you're not already subscribed, I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers. I only need one more person to subscribe. So if anybody's willing to do that, then I can get 50 subscribers. It's like my first milestone. Anyhow, let's get started painting. The first thing I'm going to do is find my blank papers under here. Let's do something like this one, I think, because I've got the reference photo up there. Now, and I'm going to do the first one. I'll do the first one on these loose papers, and then we'll come back and do something on the papers that are taped down. As I told you, the main reason for taping it down is so that it can dry laying flat. It also will make a nice crisp white border around where the, when I peel this tape off here, there's going to be a white edge on there, and it looks like a photograph frame. I just like how it looks. So, but you do whatever you want to do. So first of all, I will pull out these paintbrushes because I'm probably not going to use them very much at all. May use them a little bit, but we'll have to see. And this is a big mess. I didn't clean it out today because I've been doing all this painting. But it's not really going to be a big deal because we're not going to mix a lot of paint on the palette. You're going to make sure your paints are moistened. And I did this last night and put the lid on, so these should be plenty ready to go, but I'll just give them another spray just to be sure. This way I can scoop some paint up with my little credit card. If you want to do this a different way, you can take and put little dabs of paint, like in a little row, little spots of paint in a line, and then straight out of the tube, you will be able to take your credit card and scoop some up and get a little bead of paint right along the edge of your credit card. And that's what we're painting with. Let me see, I'm going to use this piece right here. I think this will be a good edge to start off with. And one thing I will tell you, I have some real messes in the pile over here that I did not show you. I used too much paint. So don't think you need to use a whole lot of paint, a little bit on your credit card, and it's going to go good. And we're going to do a couple different ones. I'm going to show you this one. I'm going to just start with a dry piece of paper, and I'm going to take my little bit of a credit card and go over here into my paint palette. And for if I'm going to do that reference photo, which again is right there, you'll see in the background there's some distant mountains, and they're kind of a bluish purple. And then we've got some something that might be yellow or beige or maybe a burnt sienna color or something like that. There's a little bit of green in there. And then if you look down in the bottom, there's a lot of green there. Now, for the time being, we're going to totally ignore all of those dark colored twigs sticking up in there. Those we're not going to concern ourselves with at all right now. So the first thing you do is you take your credit card and you get some of that background color. And I'm just going to get a little bit of this Winsor Violet, which is a blue violet color. And you'll see right there, I don't have a whole ton. Let me see if I can get that to show in the light good. There's not a whole ton of paint on there, just got a little bit of color on there. I'm also going to get a little bit of my ultramarine blue. Now we're looking like we've got a lot of color. Let's see if I can get that to show again. Looking like we've got a much more color on that credit card. Not sure where's the best place to put it that you can see. What if I do my hand like that? Okay, so you can see I've just got a dab of color on there. All right, so I'm going to just draw with this. I'm going to draw a line back there because that's where those distant mountains are. And I'm just going to start scraping that paint right off of this card right onto where those distant mountains are, just in a line like that. And there's nothing fancy about any of that the way I did it. Let me zoom in so you can just see. I just kind of have some paint scraped off of here in a line. There's some little thicker blobs of it in a couple of spots and thinner in some. But I just put that basically all across there because that's where those lines are. Now, I can see in the reference photo, there's some lighter blue mountains way in the background. So I'm going to get a little bit of one of these lighter blue colors. And I'm not even really rinsing my credit card off. Just get some additional color on there. And I'm just going to put a bit of blue. And you can see my paint is really globbing on there because I got a big glob of it there. Make a little mountain sticking up right there. Pull that right over there. Now, the next thing is there's a little line of green in the distance. So I'm going to get a little bit of green on my credit card and put a little green in there. This is a dark green, but it's a distant bunch of mountains. I mean, a bunch of trees way out in the distance. So I don't need a whole lot. Now, some of that does stick up above the line of mountains right there. So I'll just put a little bit of sap green right there. Now, that's not a really fancy looking landscape so far. Zoom in again. It just looks like some paint blobs, but that's okay because what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with my spray bottle. But before I do that, I need to get that burnt sienna in there, and I don't have much of this left on the card. Let me just scrape the rest of it off there. Get most of that off there. And so I'm going to get some, I've actually got some transparent red oxide, which is very similar to burnt sienna, which is just a reddish brown. So I've got some of that on the credit card and a little bit of quinacridone gold. You could also use a little yellow ochre or just some yellow color. So I have that, whatever color you like for those grasses in the distance. Just put something like that on there. I'm going to go a little bit more yellow for the ones down in here. Put some yellow ochre in here. Okay, then I want a bunch more right across there. And some sap green for all these trees that are down here in the bottom.
Could you just say what you did on bottom right above that green you're just putting now? What color was that?
That is quinacridone gold. So it's some version of yellow. But also there's still some of all of these other colors are on my credit card. So they're kind of coming off on there too. So
Where's
I've
the
got,
burnt sienna?
that's this, the darker color. But some of it was on the credit card and got mixed in with the gold. So this color here is the same one I put there, but this one had more of the burnt sienna in it. And I hope that what you're getting from this is that this is far from an exact science. You're never going to get your paint blobs to be exactly the same shape as my paint blobs. It's, you know, don't even try. It's futile. But they're not supposed to be. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just spray water on it. And this is the part where it gets really messy. So you need some paper towels close at hand. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. I'm just going to spray water all over that, and it's going to make all those things start moving all around. So just spray a lot of water on there. And then I'm going to tilt it a little bit. I'm going to use the tip of a paintbrush to hold the paper, because when it's not taped down, it starts to want to move. Okay, so that did some weird stuff, but it's kind of pretty. Now I'm going to take a paintbrush and get it wet and just kind of help some of this that didn't move very much. I'm just going to help it move a little bit more. That blob, I'd like it to be more spread out, so just loosen that up a little. Put some extra water in there and loosen that up a little. I don't, in my reference photo, I don't have a big thing coming down exactly like that. So I can change that if I want to, but also it doesn't look bad. Maybe I'll just move some of it over that way. That's not bad like that. This blue didn't spread out as much as I'd like it to, so I can spread it out a little more by adding more water on this brush and just kind of spread these things out a little bit more. But again, I'm not really doing a whole lot of the directing this paint where it goes. It's kind of doing its own thing. And I've got a whole ton of water on my brush. So every time I put the brush over here, it goes running haywire all over everywhere. But that is exactly what I want it to do. Now I got to mop up some of this mess so I can lay the paper down flat, because at this point, flat would be better than tilted. And if I wanted to, I could blow on that part right there. And just kind of move the paint around a little bit. See, and what's happening is these paints are kind of mixing together in random ways, and we're getting a lot of granulating and cool stuff. Now, with the sky up there right now is all speckledy and unfinished. What I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take some of the colors that I put in the paper and mix them together and make a sky. So I'm going to start off with just putting some water on here and kind of shifting that stuff around that's up there, because some of this actually went up there. I don't know how it does it, but when I spray the spray bottle on here, it picks up some of the droplets and takes them on the other part of the paper. So I just spread around what was up there. Now I'm going to just get, let's see, I think I'll take some of that purple and blue. And again, this is really doesn't matter exactly which colors I use. I'm going to put a little bit of the burnt sienna or red oxide in there too, to gray it way down. And that's more purple than I would want it to be. So just put a little bit more blue in it and just spread some color out into the sky. And if I got too much, I'll just put more water and take some back out. And I can use my paper towel to pick some up and make some clouds in there. So I've just got some random color going on in there, looking like a sort of sky. And that is my first abstract landscape. But we didn't put the twigs in. So going back over to here where you can see the reference photo, there's all of those trees and twigs in there. Those are added after this gets more dry. Right now it's got so much water on there that if I tried to paint it on, they would just run all over everywhere. Oh, and I'm remembering in my sample here, in the reference, you can see there's some water back in there, like a little river or big river or something. So I just put a stripe of color in this one. While everything's really wet, I put that in on this one. But I kind of like how that looks. And this sort of looks like it's the water there. So I might just get a little bit of that color and just kind of put some on there, but I don't really have to do that. And if I don't want to, it was fine without it. But there's something that just looks like, I don't know, maybe some water is in there. And because everything is so wet, that paint that I put on there is already starting to just kind of melt into that, and the color is running over in here and the pigments are kind of separating, and we call that granulating, and it's starting to make some really cool looking stuff. Now I got a big dot of green right there that isn't doing anything right now. But if I wanted to look at the reference photo and I see there's a whole lot more green at the bottom, if I wanted to, I could get some extra green on my brush and just kind of, while this is wet, put some more on and just randomly throw some green in there. Maybe throw a little more over here, but I kind of like the colors the way they did what they did. So I don't want to do too much of that. I got a little bit of ultramarine. I'll just throw some of that in there to darken that up a bit. And I'm not going all the way to the edge of the paper because I'm going to allow myself some space to spray that really lightly, mist it with this spray bottle right there. Whoops. It helps if you point the bottle the right direction. Okay, so I sprayed a little in there. Now it's really wet. That didn't do a whole lot, but it did something. And I think I would like to have this color go all the way to the edge right there. But leaving these where they don't go all the way to the edge. It just looks cool. So like I said, that's my first abstracted landscape. Now, I hope you guys have more than one piece of paper because I'd like you to give it a try before I do the next one and before I paint the twigs on here. Or you know, let me just tell you, if I was going to paint twigs, they'd look like this and they get painted on randomly after this is a whole lot more dry. You don't have to wait for it to be the whole way dry, but more dry than it is right now. And you can put more or less twigs as you like them. And like I said, I kind of like this one like this, so I'm not going to put any twigs. But you see how we've got a sky and we've got something that looks like distant mountains, and then we've got fields and who knows what, and maybe some water, and then some darker stuff up close here. And it looks, to me, this looks more like an abstracted landscape than just a big mess, say, in my paint palette. So if you would give it a try, and then I hope you have questions, and then I'll do another one that can hopefully address some of your questions. So is that, are we game for this?
Yes,
Yep,
we are.
sure are.
Okay.
Any questions, anyone? Okay, it seems like everybody is set, Christine.
Okay, so ready, set, paint. And I will just say, remember, don't overdo your paint too much, because too much paint and you will end up with a big yucky blob on your paper.
This is fun, Christine. This is
Good. I hope it's
I
supposed
like
to
it.
be fun.
It's a little different, and I like this.
Yeah, well, there's no drawing on here really, so that should make people happy. And how detailed can you get when you're drawing or painting with a credit card instead of a paintbrush? So that should let you know that this is easy. And I won't say it's foolproof or mistake proof, but um, if you give it several goes, you get where you see how the paint moves on the paper, and you get a little bit better at controlling it, and then you can take this to anywhere you want to go with it. You can get as detailed or as not detailed, as wild and crazy abstract as you want, or somewhere in between. So, but mainly it's meant to be fun. And you can use reference photos for just about anything. And I've discovered that on Unsplash and Pixabay, and I forgot what the other one is, Pexels or Pexels. I forget what the other one is, but definitely I know on Unsplash and Pixabay you can search for things like waterfall or mountain range or mountain lake or anything like that, and get loads of really great royalty free photos that you can use to base some of your abstract landscape painting on. Or you can just do something totally right straight out of your own head, make up your own little world. Like I think Bob Ross used to be the one that would say that. um, this is your world, put what you want into it.
Christine, could you just further explain to me? I know when we were talking about this class, abstract art, and you said abstracted art is different from abstract art. Could you say again what you mean by that?
Okay, I will say that, but I'll need to preface it with the fact that I'm not actually an abstract artist. I paint representational, but this is representational, but it is also abstracted. In other words, I did not draw a distant mountain range and then draw the next bit of mountains and then draw the trees in the front and then take my brush and start painting the color into that. Rather, I just said, okay, there's some mountains in the back. I'm going to put some color there to represent that. It's representational. But I also sprayed the spray bottle on. I mean, I painted it on there with what you could do this, I guess, if you were going to be more professional about it. Maybe you'd use a palette knife, but you just apply some color, and you paint it in a way that uh, you can't really say that that's a lake. It's a dash of blue color, but where I put it on here in my painting, it's giving me the indication of this is a landscape and there might be some water right there, and there's these can be looking like fields, but it's not painted in any of the traditional way where we draw out a landscape. And this one that I did with the where I used the credit card to scrape out the 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 rocks or something, this is not by any stretch of anyone's imagination a traditional way to make a landscape here and make what looks, to me, this looks like fields. Well, I didn't actually start out trying to make a landscape with fields over here, and I wasn't going to make this, whatever this distant range or whatever that is, I wasn't going to put that in there, but it sort of happened the way I put my paint on the paper. And I just kind of decided, okay, that I put a blob of blue there, and I put a blob of perylene violet there, and I put a darker blob over here, and then I sprayed water on it and I moved it around, and I can kind of see some shapes in here. So let me turn this into mountains and rocks and fields. Or like I said, this could be rooftops, or this could be rooftops or something over here in the distance. I I took a much more abstract approach to painting this, than the traditional realism or representational method where you actually draw it out and then paint it. I didn't start out even with as much of a plan as I did for this one. On this one, this was just straight out of my head. I didn't have anything in mind. On these two, I just decided I want to use these three colors. And so let me just put them on there and spray the water bottle, mist it real good and see what happens. And this is what happened. And so this is my abstract painting with much less structure to it. And it looks to me like a landscape. You can paint, an abstract could be just a circle of color here and a line of color there, and then a splash of color over here, and all the parts are separated and it's abstract. It doesn't represent anything. But, and that's abstract. But this is abstract as well, even though it looks like a landscape. So I consider this abstracted, and especially this one, because yes, I painted a landscape based on that reference photo. But no, I didn't do this the traditional way where you draw everything out. So I used much more abstract techniques to paint this landscape. That to me is what we're talking about, abstracted. And I've basically come up with that from studying on my own, reading in, books written by other artists, studying what abstract is. I took an abstract class a couple of years ago, and it was a workshop, a 3-day workshop by a local abstract artist, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from it, but I also learned a lot of those abstract techniques can be brought to bear in my realism or representational work, and make my representational work pretty. So that's what I know about it. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome. Okay, does anyone have any questions at this point? Anybody bold and want to show their first attempt at this? Okay, hold on, Jackie. I'm going to make your picture big.
That was yours.
Okay.
And then I did
Look at that, pretty.
like a waterfall.
Uh-huh. How do you feel about putting the paint on the paper and just letting it run around like that?
Wrong person to ask, Christine. This is me all over. I like painting with sticks. I like painting with palette knives. I like painting with my fingers. So I love it.
Okay, great. Well, that's good. Anybody else?
That's
Anybody
me.
else?
This is mine.
I
Who is
can't
that?
find who this is.
Yeah.
This is Mercedes.
Okay, I've got me on gallery view, and
Oh,
now
I
I'm looking
see you,
for, okay, there's
Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I don't like it.
I do.
Hi, Mercedes.
Oh,
Hi, Angelina.
See mine?
Yes.
Okay, wait.
It's a mess.
I'm too slow, so
No,
hold on a sec.
Angela, it's beautiful. I'm just kind of going in order of my screen. Let's see.
I'm trying to make them big. Put it back up
Elaine?
again, Angela.
Put it back.
Helene had something too. Let's
Okay.
see.
Mhm.
Helene, yours is really nice.
Oh, that's
look good.
pretty.
Yeah.
It looks
I'm
good.
too slow
Oh,
because
that's
my
nice.
Ruth,
computer switches.
wonderful.
I'm looking for Helene and I can't find her. Oh, there it is. Okay, put it back up again.
Wow.
That's nice.
I'm not
Yes.
sure how
That
much
looked kind of like a
shine.
seascape to me.
Yours look like a desert, Mercedes.
I know.
This is mine. It's a little bit different.
Sarah, that's really nice.
Thanks.
They're all great.
Okay, let's see which one this is. This is Mary Ann. That's you, right, Mary Ann? I think that's whose I have up there. That's pretty because I see the red in the background, and then I see some light areas in the foreground.
It looks like a
good.
waterfall.
That looks very good.
That's me.
Okay. All right, now I'm going back to gallery view so I can see who else might be holding theirs up. Here's Diane. Keep holding yours up, Diane. Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. I see you use the edge of your knife or your card to scrape some textures in, to scrape some lines in. That looks cool.
I did. I don't know what I was doing, but it was fun. So I just got a little, but my colors, I don't have really, I have some tubes of watercolor, but I don't have a great selection. So I like the flat ones, the hard ones, but I love the purples that everybody's using. I'll have to try to get more of that.
Okay.
Oh, it's fun. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, let's do one more here. I've got Roberta's. And Roberta went ahead and put her twigs in the front there.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't.
Well, the good news is we're going to do more than one of these, and with each one you learn a little bit more moving forward. But you can learn from this first one. You see how your paints have kind of moved together when you added water.
Yes.
And although I think I put a lot more water than you put, but anyway, okay, so let me put mine back up there. And okay, we're gonna do another one. And what
Barbara's looks really nice too.
I missed that. Let me see. I have to put mine back on gallery view or else I have a hard time seeing Barbara. Okay, let's put Barbara up on the spotlight.
Yep, Barbara's looking good.
Look at that. Yes, very nice. Another one that looks to me like a seascape because it looks like water back there in the background. But this is, you know, your colors can become they can be mountains, or they can be ocean water. That's one of the fun things about doing this style. You leave a lot up to the eye of the viewer, and they can see what they want to see in it. And it's I think that's why it's such a popular type of art, abstract is. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and move this one rather than try to do anything else to it. I could paint those twigs on there, but I don't think I need to. I'm going to just touch the back of it to get some of the excess paint off there, clean it off my table so I got a clean starting spot again, and get this one where it's not going to make messes on whatever I lay it on. Put that over there out of the way. And get another piece of paper. Now I'm going to use one of the ones I put on my board next because I think that will come in handy on this one. For this one, I want to show you, I mentioned a triad. That's where you take like 3 colors, a triad of 3 colors. And they're usually one of each, a representative of each of the primary colors. So a red, a yellow, and a blue. But I'm going to go ahead and pick, let's see, I'm going to do, yeah, I guess I will use this. I'm going to go with something I was working on before. I think I'm going to do that. Maybe let me do something just radically different just for the fun of it. So I'm going to get me a spot right here. For my blue, I'm going to use, I think I'll go with cobalt. So I'm going to use some cobalt. That's that blue, pretty blue right there, which probably should put in the better light. But so I've got that. Now I need a red, and that can be red or orange or brown or anything like that. And I'm going to go with a Perylene Violet. So that is that color. And I will put these in the better light in just a second. Then for my yellow, I could use burnt sienna for a yellow. I could use quinacridone gold, or I could use raw sienna or yellow ochre or this bright yellow here. And I think just to see what it will do, I'm going to use the quinacridone gold. So that is this color, which when I spread that out, it goes way more to yellow. Let me just spread some out so you can see that there. And then I'll spread out how this color gets when it's loosened, and then this blue we know. So okay, that's my triad of 3 colors, and let's see if this shows up good in my palette cam. There, you can see the colors. This one is more purpley, a reddish purple color. This one is a yellow gold, and this cobalt is just a very pretty blue. So those are the 3 colors I'm going to use to do this painting. Now I'm still going to use the credit card, but limiting the colors like that is going to get me some more unique results. So I'm going to start with, let's see, that blue would be my most distant mountain type of thing. So I'm going to just get some of that blue on my credit card here. And I'm going
Or
to
you're
do
just
one
putting it
color.
on the tip of the credit card?
It's just
Are you
just a
like
little bit of color,
pushing
right?
down on it?
Oh, when I put that on here, I'm going to put that right on there, and I'm not going to stand it up like this.
Okay,
I'm going to
that's
lay it
thank
like
you.
this and you know, use it like a palette knife.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I'm going to just scrape some color along there, kind of like that. And where you dig your card on like that, like to scrape it off the edge, that sometimes scores your paper a little bit and creates some additional texture if you like that. If you don't want it to do that, don't scrape the paper. But I like it, so I usually scrape that paper a little bit there. All right, so I'm getting a little bit of my Perylene Violet, which is a reddish purple color, and I'm just going to put that right there because I think that'll be cool right there. And then I'm going to put a little bit right in here. Just scrape that kind of downwards right in there. And I'm totally making this up as I go. And I'm just going to flatten that card on there and try to rub all of that right off there. In fact, that gives me the idea that I might like some of that color right there. So I'll just put some. Now my other color is the quinacridone gold, or my yellow color. And I've just got a globby bit of that on my credit card there. And I'm going to just start spreading that in there. And I don't have to put it right up beside that because those colors are going to, when I hit it with the water, those are going to run down. So I don't need to make sure that I've covered that space in between there. In fact, it is better to leave some space so there's room for something to happen. So that's just kind of a bit of color on my paper, and I'm going to spray it with the spray bottle. And I've already got the paper tilted, so it's going to mostly start running down. And just put more water where I think I need more water. And then when it starts getting a little too out of hand, then I can take my paintbrush with water and just start steering. And I can tilt the paper over, and I can help that come down there in the side if I want to. Get a little of that started running down in there. And if it gets to be too much, I can use my paper towel and blot. And anything that's not quite as loose as I think I'd like it, I can just step in there with the wet paintbrush and loosen it up so it'll run some more. And that did some cool stuff. I'm going to mop a little bit with this brush here, and then I want to tilt it the other way and see, because I think I would like to keep the yellow down in the bottom corner there. So just tilt it that way so I can mop some off of that edge and then put it upwards again. And I got something that went up there in the sky, and I could take a wet paintbrush and wash that off there and wash it back down in here. That'll do a lot of stuff as far as washing that color right straight down into there. But I could also leave it because maybe that'll become a twisted or gnarled tree trunk or something sticking up there. I don't really know. That's one of the fun things about this abstract technique here. My painting is sort of painting itself for me. And I'm not going to cover over that right there because that's a kind of a cool looking little spot where I got some granulation and some different stuff happening. So what I might do is blot a little bit of that right there because it's too much. But leave that where it is. And I don't like that stark stopping right there. So I could put water on it with my paintbrush, or I could mist it with the spray bottle. And I'm gonna this time make sure I've got it pointed in the direction I think it's pointed in. And look what that did, some kind of cool stuff happening right there. But I was aiming for over here, so let me just try there. Look at that. That just kind of went down there and did some funky kind of, ooh, maybe too much, but it's done now. But anyway, that is looking cool. I kind of like it. So I'm going to mop some of that off right here. Because I have another paper on the back of this that I want to paint on, I'm going to try to keep my table wiped up so that I don't lay this down in a messy spot and lose the use of the paper on the back. But that's going pretty good. Now, I've got some stuff happening in there that looks like maybe this is a stormy sky or something happening. So I'm going to get just clean water on my paintbrush and come in here and just kind of spread that around a little bit. And I see that I need a little bit more of that color. So this was my cobalt and my pyroline, which I've already got in my palette thing back here where I showed you my color triad. So I'm just going to mix a little of those together and get a strong color to put some neat sky in up there. Keep the color darker, give it a little dark swish right down into that. And then just soften that edge right down into the stuff I have going on in there. I think I like another dark bit happening there. And that's my stormy sky happening in the back of this piece. Ooh, that's a lot of dark right there. Maybe too much. But I'm going to let it dry and see what happens. That makes me think I need a bit of blue right there. So I just touched in a little bit. But that's interesting. Now it did, I messed that up a little bit right there, but I already got the idea of it. So I'll probably go in right there and put some gnarled kind of a tree of some sort. But for now, I think I'll just spread that out just a little bit there. That allows me to change my mind if I want to. And now I'm going to lay it flat. I know some people that do this using like terry cloth rags or something like that, so they don't end up with all of this wads of paper towel. I just have not got to the point that I can get the results I want with something like that isn't paper towel. So I use the paper towel all the time. It's what works for me. You can use what works for you. But this one I like. This one's coming out pretty cool. And that was just with 3 paint colors, and they've blended all over here, and I can see a whole lot more than just 3 colors in my piece here because of the way they blended on the paper, but they're all coming out of those 3 colors, and there's just a really strong continuity here in the colors in the piece. And so that's one of the reasons you would do something like this with just picking those 3 colors and limit yourself to only 3 colors. And also, if your paper's small, you really don't want too much paint on it. You don't have enough room for it to spread out. So that's another good reason to practice or play with only the 3 colors.
Christine, could you just say quickly the name of the 3 colors again?
Okay, this was cobalt blue, quinacridone gold, and the purpley color right here is pyroline violet. And let me see if I can tell you how that's spelled. Off the top of my head, I can't, but I can look it up. It is, I wonder if I could get it to show up in one of these cameras. It's pyroline, P-E-R-Y-L-E-N-E, violet. And I don't know if that's focusing with enough light in it that you can actually read it. I'll try it on this camera.
Thank you.
Christine, what brand paint is that?
This one is Winsor Newton, but I have this same paint. It's not wanting to focus. I wish it would.
Is that the professional or the cotton?
This is not the Cotman, it's the professional watercolor. But I also have this color in, I have several tubes of it because it's one of my current favorite colors. So I've got a Daler Rowney Pyroline Maroon. That's not the same thing, but it's close. That's not it. That's also Pyroline Maroon. I know I have another brand of that same color. I'm just not pulling it out of there. Well, that's another Winsor Newton of the Pyroline Violet. But Daniel Smith makes it, and they make really good paint.
Right.
There's, I think, I thought I had 3 tubes of it, and I'm not finding the other one. Oh, way, way, way in the bottom there. I'm not going to be able to get it out. That one looks like it's also Winsor Newton. But I do buy whatever paint I can find like on sale, or when I go in the store, I open up the tube and I look at the color rather than just going by the little swatches. And I almost never buy paint online. The only paints I buy online are the paints that I'm already familiar with and have used enough to know, okay, yes, that's the brand and that's the color that I like. Otherwise, I go in the store and I look at them and I buy the color that I like based on how the paint itself looks in the store. But I use Daniel Smith, Holbein, Winsor Newton Professional Colors, and Core, Q-O-R, those paints. And also, I like the inexpensive paint in Jerry's Artorama that is Lucas brand.
Right.
I was using those for some of what we were painting in the library because I was buying those cheap sets from Walmart and Michael's, and we always ran out of blue and yellow. So I would go over to Jerry's and buy their inexpensive, their least expensive brand of paint, so that I could supplement what we were using in the library in the in-person classes. And that I've discovered I really like that brand, and it's not super expensive. And when they put it on sale, even better. So this one I'm going to call done for now. I like it. It's still, you see there's a lot of shine on it. It's still getting dry. I could go right in here and put some of those twigs. I could put a whole silhouette of a tree. I could put a silhouette of anything I want to put in there. Maybe there's a horse running through this picture. I don't know. Or people, or again, I could take the credit card and use the edge of it to scrape rocks or something in there. Let's see, maybe I will just do a little bit of that just to see, or to show you what it might look like. While the paint is not the whole way dry, you can just scrape a little bit of it aside, and you get these lines of paint that make your dark colors. And just kind of randomly put something in there. But again, you have to do this while it's still, the paint is still wet. Where the paint's dry right there, I can scrape all I want to. It's not going to move that paint at all. Just where it's still wet.
Christine, when the watercolors are in the tube, do you use the watercolor straight out of that tube and put it on your painting, or you mix it with water?
Oh, okay. That's another key reason why this is a fun thing to do, especially if you're getting used to watercolors. While I put that paint straight on the paper, when I first did that, it's pasty. Let me do one with a slightly different method here. Okay, so new piece of paper. I'm going to spray some water on it right across the middle. And I'm going to take paint on my paintbrush and get paint. Now, see, I had to get my paintbrush wet. It's just so much a habit. I can't even do this. Here is what I got here. This is some phthalo blue. So I'm going to put a little dot of this phthalo blue straight out of the tube on this paper right here, on a dry part of the paper. Now I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm not going to get it, well, it's already a little damp. I don't think I have a dry paintbrush around here, do I? This one's mostly dry. So this would be like, I take the paint out of the tube, got it on the paper, dry paintbrush, and I'm trying to paint with this paint. It's not spreading very far because it's too dry. But if the minute I take what's on that brush and touch it into the wet area, look what it does. It spreads, and you get the color showing up. This is, let's see here. This is straight out of the tube, and I spread it as much as I could. But it's pasty, and it's laying on top of the paper, and it isn't doing what watercolor does. But I put it in the wet area of the paper, and it's just going to town up here, making all kind of cool stuff happen. And the color shows up because I add some water, and it becomes actual watercolor paint when you add some water to what comes out of the tube. It is not the same as with acrylics, where you squeeze some acrylic out onto your palette and then you use your brush to scoop up that paint. So you would scoop it up and then you transfer it to your painting and you paint with that acrylic. That is not the correct way to do it with watercolor. You have to add water in order for it to do what watercolor does. I'm going to show you again. This is a little bit of pure.
When it's watery, it didn't stay on my credit card. It like just was dripped.
Oh, well, you don't put, let's see, let's do this with the credit card. There's straight out of the tube. Get it onto the credit card, straight out of the tube like that. Okay, it's on the credit card from the tube. But I'm going to go up here in this wet area and spread it on there. Now it's going to start doing some stuff because I've already got water on there. This one right here, I'll just show you when I spread that around.
You're off the camera a bit.
Oh, okay. When I spread that all out with my credit card, Now I can hit that with the spray bottle and it starts spreading out even more. And it's doing what it's supposed to do. When I spray that one with water, it starts doing the fun things too. And we're going all over everywhere. And the more water you add, the more it's going to run, obviously. And even just with those two colors, I've got something cool happening there. And I'm going to put that right down in there. Blot off the excess. Out of the edge like that. Now, you can see I got something happening that I would have never been able to paint that if I hadn't added water. And even in this dark area down here, when I added water to it, you don't see it as well on the camera as I wish that you could, but it really brought out the beautiful blue color there where I added that water. Now I'm going to just kind of get this to run back down in here a little bit. And just put some more of that up in the top. I'm just adding some water. And I'm put some more water on this in the corner and loosen that up and spread that around. By adding water, you turn it into paint that you can spread all over the place here. And I think that's a kind of a cool looking abstract painting right there, just with two colors. Then I could take some India ink and draw into it a little bit. Let's see if I've got that. Did I leave it out? Where I put it? India ink really really goes everywhere though, so I'll have to see if I can be really careful with this. Okay, I just have a little ink on there. I'm just gonna put some texture lines in. And I'm not squeezing that top there. I'm just dipping it in the ink to get the color on there and then just kind of spread it around. Now that India ink is just kind of spreading out into the paint there too and doing interesting stuff. And I can help it along a little if I want to with my paintbrush, or I can just let it do its own thing and become some interesting who knows what. But it makes a cool abstract landscape. And we've got granulation happening or separating of the paint on the paper. And I like this area right in here. I like what that did. Excuse me. I like how this is starting to run and mix a little. And I like how it spreads upwards somewhat as soon as you get water on there. So it's maybe a little futuristic or something, I don't know, but it's cool looking. And that, I think, is what abstract is about. So any more questions? Or next question?
That's really cool, Christine. That's very outside most people's normal range. I like that a lot.
It's way outside of my normal range too, and yet I like it. I think it's very pretty. And it's just a totally different thing to do to maybe loosen up. I mean, I'm never going to just turn into an abstract painter and stop doing representational work. I'm just not going to do that. I like details and I like representational, but for a fun playtime or for a loosen up exercise or for just to do something different, this is a really fun thing to do. It satisfies my need to do something. I can call it a landscape. It's still representational in my mind. I still see a landscape there,
I
but
love this.
but
This
it,
is
it's
great.
it's at the same time it's very abstracted. I mean, in
Christine,
realism, some of the abstracted thing too comes from the color choices you make. Because in realism, when would you ever paint a landscape with a little bit of blue and a little bit of red?
Christine, we had a question that somebody emailed in that's on this program today that wants to know, of course she can, but maybe you can further explain. I don't think she's using credit cards, she's using her brushes, and that is okay.
Yes, I have one more piece of paper somewhere, and I'll show you one using your brushes. This isn't as dry as I'd like it to be to put it face down, but we'll just live with it. Let me find another spot. I gotta find spots to put all these wet paintings.
Also, and this, Helene had asked the question, and Helene, we had gone over the colors. One of the paintings was with cobalt blue, the quinacridone gold, and the perylene violet, but each of the paintings have had different colors used.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so are you okay with that, Helene? Helene? Okay.
I would like to also emphasize, pick any three colors, any colors you like, and give this a shot. You don't just have to follow exactly what I'm doing, and you will never get your credit card to spread your color out exactly the same as I'm doing here. So it's not meant to be use exactly what I'm doing. But I will gladly tell you all of the exact colors I'm using if you coincidentally loved the color combination that it made on my paper. Just be aware that uh, I can't duplicate that same result exactly myself. I can get close and I can get very similar color combinations to happen using the same paint again. But part of the nature of this and this technique is that your results are going to be different every time. And you just need to train your mind to look for, expect that this is like grab bag on Easter or something like that. You're going to put your hand in the bag and pull out a handful of candy, and it's all going to be good. But the next time you put your hand in the bag, you're going to get a different handful, but it's also going to be good. So let's do one real quick here with paint brushes. I'm going to do this
Christine?
fast because we're about out of time.
Yep.
Yes.
I was just going to tell you it's 2:20, and just so that you know where we're at on time.
Okay. Just real quickly, sprayed some spray right, just basically just across the center of the page. Let's see if I can get the sheen to see that. It's just across the center of the page there, wet there. And I'm going to get a strong bunch of color on my paintbrush. And let's go for some magenta here for a red color. And I'll just make some red like that. And then I'm going to get some, let's see, what color have we not used? We didn't use any phthalo green. So I'm going to just put some phthalo green in there. Right into that wet paper area. And you see it's already starting to do stuff. Now I'm going to get, let's go with some raw sienna just to see what it'll do. And I'll just spread some of that right across there. Now, again with the spray bottle and the tilting, And I can use my spray bottle to wash all that dark off there if I don't like it. And then I've got a very light pastel colored thing going on the page. Again, I'm trying to not let too much mess get on the back of this because of what I have over there on the back side. Okay, so that's doing something cool. I'm going to blow that dark back in there. Okay, that's looking kind of cool. Now, the more I tilt it, the more it's going to keep running. And let's see, let's make a sky for it. I've got magenta and a phthalo green, which I've got something similar to that in my palette over there. So I'm going to do that, put that in right across there like that. And then put some more of that raw sienna right in the sky. And that is a nice, interesting sky right there. And this would be one where I might, if I had it handy, I could throw some salt in there and make little, the salt would kind of repel the paint and there'd be little white dots, which I could then go back in once this is dry and paint some stems on it and have a little field of flowers in there. And that would be kind of cool. And maybe put a few little magenta dots in the centers of some of those things after I remove that salt. And it would look like, okay, there's these little white and red flowers or white and pink flowers. And back there must be a whole field or mountainside or whatever, hillside covered with those same little flowers. And that would be an abstract way of creating a landscape. And I used paintbrushes for that one instead of the credit card or palette knife. And with that, we are just about out of time. So
I just wanted to say also to the group, I really enjoyed this, Christine, so thank you so much. I wanted to say to the group that our next class reminder is April 23rd. And in the last email, I will send it again, but in the last email, both of the Zoom links were sent because the April 23rd class is a different Zoom link than today's class, okay? And you can always find it in the Friends newsletter that is sent out each week also. It says, click here to register, but I will also send the email and there'll be a different Zoom link, as I said. And Christine, do you know for sure if we're going to be doing the still life next time?
yes, it will definitely be some type of still life. I'm not sure yet. Most likely it's going to be a bowl of fruit, but I'm seeing if I can work out. I have an idea of what I think I want to do, and it's patterned after the style of a specific, well, a couple of specific abstract artists, but I'm not sure yet we're going to be able to accomplish it within the hour and 15, 20 minutes or so time period, and without everyone having to get extra paper and scissors and all kind of stuff. So I'm working out in my mind, how are we going to accomplish this particular style? And if that one doesn't work, then I got a plan B, but it's all going to most likely be based on a bowl of fruit.
Well, if we had a plan, if we knew what we needed, we could be ready.